Welcome to Untested Builds, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Comment below to suggest characters you want to see featured on the channel, subscribe and tap the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video, and join the Patreon to vote for your favorite suggestions and download character sheets for our builds. Today we're building another shade of Batman. That's kind of the whole theme of the Bat family. What would happen if someone had the same training and drive as Bruce Wayne, but was motivated by a different reason to put on the mask and jump off buildings? In Pathfinder, that also means we get to see just how skilled Batman really is, since Bruce can really do basically everything his former sidekicks can, but it's just way too much to put into a single level 20 character. The first Robin, Richard Grayson, is basically a Batman do-over. Same trauma of parents being killed by Gotham crime, but this time instead of having an aging former espionage agent as a father figure, he had, well, Batman. And he turned out as a more lighthearted but equally heroic vigilante once he left Bruce's shadow. Then you have Jason Todd, who started out with all the makings of a criminal, giving all of Batman's skill and training, but never quite addressing those anger issues. After a, let's say, traumatic transition, Jason finds himself alone and seeking revenge, and with the real difference between him and Bruce, Red Hood isn't opposed to killing anyone he deems too far gone for redemption. Which really just means Batman gets a cool leather jacket and guns. Lots of guns. For our goals for this build, we've got to have all the skills for a human with no powers to be able to take on everything from street level crime to supervillains. Second, we need to get lethal. We're not afraid to use guns, grenades, or even a bazooka if the situation calls for it. Lastly, we were still raised by Batman, so we've got his penchant for gadgets, batarangs, and using fear as a weapon. For our stats, we're maxing dexterity. Everything we attack with is either ranged or finesse, and it feels weird to max strength on heroes without some level of super strength. Next is charisma. Intimidation is a charisma check, and we're at least the second most intimidating member of the Bat family. Strength and intelligence next. Jumping is tied to strength, and we're going to be doing a lot of that, and a little bit of base damage on our melee attacks is always welcome. Constitution is next. No super durability or anything, but we can take a hit or two. Last is wisdom. We're more about using planning and stealth to get the jump on the bad guys, not pure reaction time. For our skills, we'll become trained in acrobatics, athletics, intimidation, and stealth like any respectable vigilante. Deception and thievery from our childhood on the streets, and crafting, medicine, and society, since those are good backup skills for any non-powered anti-hero. Using our skill increases to eventually become an expert in crafting, a master in acrobatics, and legendary in athletics and intimidation. Jason is a human, nothing else weird here. Versatile humans get a free general feat at level 1, and the fleet feat is perfect for chasing down would-be crime lords and drug dealers. We get an extra 5 feet of movement speed, which can translate to other move types once we get access to them. We'll take the return background because, spoiler alert, Jason Todd died before becoming the most recent Red Hood. We get the additional lore feat from Boneyard lore, meaning our proficiency levels up as we do. We also get the Die Hard feat, meaning we're going to be harder to kill a second time. Now we die dying 5 rather than dying 4. Our Ancestry feat, Gloomseer, gives us low light vision, which is probably useful when your entire job takes place at night. Surprisingly enough, we aren't going gunslinger here. In everything I watched and read while researching Red Hood, he spent almost as much time fighting with knives and unarmed strikes as he did with guns. So we kinda have to be good at every type of attack. Sounds like a fighter to me. Level 1 fighters gain expert proficiency in simple and martial weapons as well as unarmed attacks, so you're basically guaranteed to hit with your fists, daggers, shuriken, and pistols if your GM is cool, or hand crossbows if they're not. They also get shield block, which doesn't matter to us at all, and the attack of opportunity reaction, meaning we can make a melee attack against anyone in our reach who uses a manipulator move action, makes a ranged attack, or leaves a square by using an action. For our class feat, power attack lets us spend 2 actions to make a single strike that deals an extra weapon die of damage. This does count as 2 attacks for our multi-attack penalty, but it also scales as we level, dealing 2 extra dice at level 10 and 3 extra dice at level 18. We'll pick up the catfall feat ASAP because going from rooftop to street level in a single leap is probably less than 1 for a Caped Crusader. We ignore an amount of distance when determining fall damage, scaling with our acrobatics proficiency. We ignore 10 feet at trained, 25 feet at expert, and 50 feet once we're a master. For our class feat, sometimes extra damage isn't what we want, sometimes fear is what we're after. Intimidating strike makes a melee attack, making the target frightened 1 on a hit and frightened 2 on a critical hit. Level 3 fighters gain bravery for expert will saves, and critical success results on regular successes against fear effects. In addition, anytime we gain the frightened condition, we reduce the value by 1 just in case a crit wasn't good enough. For our general feat, Feather Step lets us step into difficult terrain. Don't want to get tangled up during a fight like these clumsy thugs. We don't use the shield block reaction, but that doesn't mean we have nothing to offer on defense. The flip class feat lets us gain a +2 circumstance bonus to our AC as reaction to an incoming melee attack, so long as we're wearing medium or light armor. If the attack still hits, we also make a step into an adjacent square as long as it's still within the enemy's reach, so it's not a total waste. If we can make a flip as a reaction, then we should probably be able to jump in a single action too. The quick jump feat lets us do just that, allowing us to make a long or high jump in a single action, and we no longer fail for not making the initial stride action beforehand. Level 5 fighters gain master proficiency in simple and martial weapons and expert proficiency in advanced weapons of a weapon type of our choice. If you're watching this in September, then hey, go ahead and get good at firearms. Since Guns and Gears isn't out for me just yet, we're going with knives because they're edgier than unarmed attacks. How much edgier? Well, we also get the critical specialization effects of the selected type, meaning when we crit on knives, we also deal an extra 1d6 bleeding damage to the target. For our Ancestry feat, Dark Seer gives us dark vision. There's gotta be night vision in that helmet somewhere. Shattered Defenses takes advantage of enemies who are frightened. We make a melee strike against a frightened creature, and if we hit and deal damage, they also become flat-footed until they are no longer frightened. But what makes it better is that if they already were flat-footed to us, they won't be able to reduce their frightened condition to less than 1 until the start of our next turn. We also get better at intimidating in regular conversation too. Quick Coercion allows us to attempt to coerce a target after only 1 round of conversation rather than 1 minute. Level 7 fighters gain Battlefield Surveyor for Master Perception proficiency and a +2 circumstance bonus to perception checks to initiative, and weapon specialization for an additional 3 damage with our knives and an additional 2 damage with everything else. We also get a general feat, and what the Bat family lacks in superpowers, they more than make up for in random gadgets. Prescient Planner allows us to spend a minute to pull out a piece of non-consumable adventuring gear from our pack whose level is no more than half our current level by simply spending gold equal to the cost of the item. This can't be a weapon, magic item, or treasure, but if we come across a situation where we need like a grappling hook or a disguise kit, well, now we're guaranteed to have it, as long as you have the cash on hand. You've been robbing the criminals you've been killing, right? Batman's training also includes picking up as many languages as possible. We've already got Common and 2 others thanks to our starting intelligence, but Multilingual gives us 2 more languages of our choice. Let's make our thrown weapon strikes a bit better too while we're here. Rebounding Toss allows us to hit 2 enemies with a single thrown weapon. We make a thrown strike, and if we hit, the projectile also hits another target within 10 feet of the first. We still make an attack roll for the second strike, and it does count towards our multi-attack penalty, but we don't increase the penalty until we've made both strikes. Level 9 fighters gain Juggernaut for Master Fortitude saves, and critical success results on regular successes. We also get Combat Flexibility, which is my favorite fighter feature because it gives us free feats. Well, just 1 feat for now, so long as it's a fighter feat of 8th level or less. What's more is we get to change the feat every day during our daily preparations, so we also have the best feat for the job. If you're using firearms or crossbows, Incredible Aim is probably a good pickup. If you're going up against another fear-based enemy, Resounding Bravery gives you temporary HP whenever you crit a will save. For our Ancestry feat, did you really think I was going to get through 2 builds in a row without multi-classing? Multi-Talented gives us a multi-class dedication feat of our choice, and the Alchemist dedication gives us even more toys we can use on the fly. We become trained in crafting, alchemical bombs, and Alchemist class DC. We also get the alchemical crafting feat for free, meaning we add 4 common alchemical formulas to our formula book, and we can spend our downtime to craft alchemical items. Bottle Lightning and Peshpine Grenades are our stun and frag grenades respectively. Quicksilver Mutagen gives us a bonus to acrobatics, stealth, and thievery checks, reflex saves, and dexterity-based attacks, which last I checked is basically everything we do. But we also take double damage and a penalty to fortitude saves until the effect wears off. Tanglefoot Bag gives a creature a speed penalty and immobilizes them on a crit. We also get Infused Reagents, which allows us to make a number of alchemical items equal to our level for free during our daily preparations. We'll pick up the ability to read lips with Read Lips, courtesy of Insane Bruce Wayne training, meaning we can read the lips of anyone we can see when not during an encounter. During combat or while doing some other strenuous activity, we become fascinated on the target, and the GM might make us make a society check to understand what they're saying. Maybe that's why Jason decided on the full helmet look for Red Hood. Deciding what you want to use your reagents for during your daily preparations takes the fun out of having a stocked utility belt. The Quick Alchemy feat allows us to use our infused reagents on the fly as a single action. Level 11 fighters gain fighter expertise for expert fighter class DC and armor expertise for expert proficiency in all armor types. We also get the armor specialization effects for medium armor. While we technically have the most AC while unarmored, it's probably worth it to take a slight hit to AC and scale mail in exchange for some piercing resistance. For our general feat, Prescient Consumable allows us to produce consumable items as well when using Prescient Planner, so we can cover our lack of alchemical formulas with gold in a pinch. A while ago I said the first lesson for a Cape Crusader is landing on your feet when jumping from building to the street. Well, I lied. The actual first lesson is getting to the rooftops in the first place. Quick Climber allows us to move 5 feet further on a successful athletics check to climb and 10 feet further on a crit. Once we're legendary in athletics, we simply have a climb speed equal to our move speed instead. The expert alchemy feat increases our advanced alchemy to level 5 up from level 1. Level 13 fighters gain weapon legend, increasing our proficiency in all simple and martial weapons to master, all advanced weapons to expert, and we increase our proficiency in simple and martial knives to legendary and advanced knives to master. Meaning we can probably do that drop the knife into the other hand and attack mid parry thing that every knife wielding bad guy is able to pull off these days. Haven't come across that feat just yet, but I'm sure Paizo is already working on it. We spent our early Ancestry feats getting better at squinting in the dark, so we couldn't get the actual best first level Ancestry feat for a human. Natural Ambition gives us the first level class feat of our choice, and if you're really gonna do the whole ranged and melee attacker thing, then point blank shot is going to be right up your crime alley. We enter a stance to give our ranged weapon strikes that don't have the volley trait, which is all of them, a +2 circumstance bonus to damage rolls as long as we're in the first range increment. We'll pick up the rapid mantle feat for when we don't quite land on our feet when attempting to jump onto a surface. We can use our athletics to grab an edge instead of a reflex save, and when we do, we can pull ourselves onto the ledge immediately. The Smoke Bomb Alchemist feat allows us to add a smoking effect to a bomb we make with our quick alchemy as a free action. When thrown, the bomb also produces a 10-foot radius burst of smoke, giving creatures within the concealed condition and making all other creatures concealed to them. Smoke lasts for 1 minute unless some other effect disperses it first. Level 15 fighters gain evasion for master reflex saves and critical success results on regular successes. Greater weapon specialization for an additional 8 damage with our daggers and 6 extra damage with everything else in our arsenal. Improved flexibility gives us an extra free fighter feat that we can take during our daily preparations, but this one can be up to level 14 and we can use our 8th level or lower flexibility feat as a prerequisite for this one. We've been skipping a lot of fighter feats for alchemist stuff lately, so now we get to catch up a bit. Spring Attack is fun if you want to replicate that Arkham style free flow combat. After we strike a foe, we can spend an action to stride up to our speed and strike another foe. We have to be able to end our movement in range of an enemy to do this, but we can use any speed type we happen to have, not just ground speed. We also get a bit more gritty here with the toughness feat, giving us an additional max HP equal to our level and reducing the DC of our recovery checks to 9 plus our dying condition value instead of 10 plus. We finally turn our lethality up to 11 with the Assassin Dedication. We gain the Marked for Death action, allowing us to spend 3 actions to designate a target for death. Until that target dies or we designate someone else, we gain a +2 circumstance bonus to perception checks to seek and on deception checks to feint against them. Also, our Agile, Finesse, and Unarmed attacks against them gain the Backstabber and Deadly D6 traits. We're more lethal without attacking at this level too. The Scared to Death feat allows us to attempt an intimidation check against a target's will DC, and if they critically fail, they also have to pass a fortitude save against our intimidation DC or they die on the spot. I don't think the helmet was all that scary, but I guess it's all in the delivery. Level 17 fighters gain armor mastery for master proficiency in all armor types. For our ancestry feat, we'll pick up some advanced general training for canny acumen to give us master will saves as well. We'll pick up group coercion so we can coerce up to 25 individuals in a single action thanks to our legendary intimidation. We reach our final stage of lethality here with the Angel of Death Assassin feat. With this, all of our strikes on our Marked for Death target gain the death trait, meaning they instantly die when our strike causes their HP to go to 0 instead of merely becoming unconscious. They also won't be able to be resurrected, healed, or communicated with in any way. They'll probably still be able to be brought back with the Lazarus Pit though. Pretty sure that counts as an artifact or divine intervention. Level 19 fighters gain Versatile Legend, meaning we increase our fighter class DC to master, our proficiency in all simple and martial weapons as well as on our strikes to legendary, and our proficiency in advanced weapons to master. We'll pick up the Numb to Death general feat for even more survivability. Now once per day, the first time we will regain HP while dying, we gain an additional amount of HP equal to our level, and we don't gain the wounded condition nor increase its value if we already have it. For our last skill feat, we'll pick up another basic ninja move. Kip Up allows us to stand from prone without triggering reactions as a free action. We're actually grabbing a capstone feat for once with ultimate flexibility. Now during our daily preparations, we can pick 3 fighter class feats to gain the effects of for the day instead of 2, so long as we still pick 1 of 8th level or lower and 1 of 14th level or lower, and now 1 of 18th level or lower. We can also switch up these temporary feats throughout the day by spending an hour to train. Since I gave a recommendation for the other flexibility features, for the 3rd feat, if you're going with firearms as a backup weapon, Savage Critical helps us fish for crits a bit more effectively by allowing us to crit on natural 19s as well as natural 20s to trigger fatal as many times as possible. But now that we're level 20, let's look at the pros and cons of this build. For starters, we've got some sweet versatility. Between ultimate flexibility, prescient consumable, and quick alchemy, your GM is going to have a hard time coming up with the challenges that can actually slow down your kill streak. And oh boy, you stack bodies high. Even with relatively low damage weapons, Angel of Death, Marked for Death, and Power Attack combine for big single target damage. We're also not bad at working as part of a team, being able to dole out consistent frightened conditions on melee strikes and demoralize actions to make sure your allies are at peak effectiveness. For cons, we used up a lot of class feats just to get access to a cute gimmick with Smoke Bomb. We're going to be better off just attacking with those actions unless we really want to help get the rogue sneak attack off this round. We could have just grabbed alchemical crafting through a skill feed and get the assassin dedication and skipped expert crafting in favor of legendary acrobatics. But honestly, this is pretty solid build and I can't wait to see what a party of Batman's former sidekicks actually looks like. Thanks for tuning in to another build. If you're still here, why not subscribe? We post at least one new build every week. Join the Patreon this week to vote between Mario from Super Mario, Sonic the Hedgehog, or the Knight from Hollow Knight, and to download this character sheet and more. Or check out the Gumroad if Patreon's not your thing. A huge thank you to everyone who supported the channel so far. Have a good rest of your week, take care, and play more Pathfinder.